Hey there, cadets. Jeff here. Now, before we get into the show, I just wanted to apologize for an issue with the last episode, number 143. Now, usually when we write history segments, we usually compile a bunch of information over time, and we put it into this digital file we have, and it sometimes sits there for months, and then we use that to write the actual history segments. Now, last week, about the Firehouse 5+2, we inadvertently used a document we thought was our written history segment, but was actually an old Jim Korkis article from Mouse Planet, which was a complete and total mistake on our end, and we totally apologize for it. We didn't want anyone to think that all that hard work was ours. It was actually Jim's work. So you can actually read more about the Firehouse 5+2 in Jim Korkis' new book, The Vault of Walt, Volume 3. Jim is a master Disney historian, and of course, we respect him. All of you guys should respect him. He's done some great stuff over the years, and we just wanted to apologize. We totally messed up. That was our bad. We're very, very sorry, and go check out his book.
This week's episode is brought to you by Fairy Godmother Travel, the official travel agency of Communicore Weekly. Email communicoreweekly@fairygodmothertravel.com to book your Disney vacation today. Again, that's fairygodmothertravel.com.
Communicore Weekly, wanna get geeky, bob around boats and five-legged goats. Communicore Weekly, you might get some freaky. Waited all week, I'm sure you already know this greatest online show. Welcome to Season 3.
Hello, and welcome to Communicore Weekly, the greatest online show and home of the world's first pair of independently born identical twins. I'm George.
And I'm Jeff. I'm so excited that it's still October and all these things are still going on. Aren't you still excited, George?
Oh, yeah, the weather is cool.
No.
The leaves are falling.
And no, I'm not talking about that stuff.
We bought pumpkin spice-flavored peanut butter to try.
Oh, you know how much I hate peanut butter. I don't know why you would even bring that up.
Oh, I don't know. Just all the constant and consistent ribbing on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter about how frightened I am of all of the haunts.
Okay, I guess that's a fair trade-off. For the record, I do rub it into George a little bit that he won't do any of the haunt stuff. And for the record, I have some sort of averse reaction to peanut butter. It just literally makes me nauseous. So I guess that's a fair trade-off. So before I get even more sick, maybe we should jump to the trip report and I can tell you about the haunt stuff.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Let's do it.
Step, jump, and skip. We took a trip, and this is our trip
So as of right now, I've officially visited many of the more famous haunted attractions here in Southern California for this lovely haunt season. But I'm going to focus on two right now, Knott's Scary Farm and Queen Mary Dark Harbor, because Knott's I've already been to, by the time this episode airs, probably 3 times, and Queen Mary I went to once. What are you laughing?
Shouldn't they take the theme? Shouldn't it be Queen Scary?
It should be Queen Scary, but they do Queen Mary Dark Harbor, which I think is a little better, I guess. I don't know. I really like Knott's Scary Farm as the play on words there. I think it's great.
I do too, but
so
that's okay.
Let's start with that one.
Okay.
Knott's Scary Farm is awesome. I very much enjoyed it last year for the first time when I went. And they added 2 new mazes this year, which one of them is by far my favorite maze in the history of mazes that have ever mazed.
Wow, that's amazing.
Should have saw that coming.
You should have.
Didn't. So. Very clever. But the maze I speak of is Voodoo. And I've always been kind of into the whole voodoo culture, and they just kind of blew this one out of the water.
Wow.
It was like there was a whole scene at the end, or the second half of the maze happens in the Louisiana Bayou, and if you didn't look up and see the ceiling of the warehouse you're in, you would swear you're in the bayou with the water and like the humid fog and everything. I mean, it was.
You mean down in the bayou?
Yeah, exactly. Just way more scary. Not as happy. And it was kind of unique too, because it was a maze that you kind of it was like a choose your own adventure novel, because at 2 different parts in the maze you can split off and go with different directions, so you kind of have to go through the maze twice to see everything.
That's smart.
It was very smart, and it was very clever, and I think I went through it probably 7 or 8 times total. Very, very fun.
Wow. Did you have any compatriots?
The first 3 times I went through with Norm from Mice Chat, our buddy Norm. Mm-hmm. And then I went through a bunch of times when we went for the Mice Chat event 2 days later as a group, and it was great. And I'll be going again probably this weekend to make up my 3rd time, and I am very excited. Tooth Fairy is also a new maze, and it's based around the legend of the Tooth Fairy, except she doesn't come into your room and leave you money. She actually brings you back to her dark dimension and eats your soul. Very kid-friendly.
Yes.
It by far one of the longest mazes I've been in, and one of the most innovative as well. A lot of really interesting imagery. They had I don't want to ruin the surprise, but the Tooth Fairy is at the end, and she is way impressive. That's for sure. All the other returning mazes I went through were fantastic. I got to do all the skeleton key rooms, which is like an extra experience. Black Magic, which was my favorite maze of last year, is now my 2nd favorite maze of this year. It's still fantastic. And actually, George, you would kind of like this. They had this thing called Special Ops Infected, and it was basically zombie laser tag.
Wow, laser tag.
So they gave you a laser gun, and you had to go off on this mission with your group, and there were zombies in the course, and they were all wearing like headbands, so when you shot them in the head, they would know they were shot and they would fall down dead.
Oh, not because they're 1970s
No,
zombies.
not because they're in a Olivia Newton-John music video, but actually because it just needed the sensors.
I gotcha.
But it was really cool. I mean, it was like a 15-minute experience. It was super fun. I think that one you would have enjoyed. There were a few scares, obviously, because zombies pop up and eat people sometimes. We also got captured by a bunch of raiders, and we were locked in a cage for a couple of minutes, and some woman outside the cage kept poking me with her machete. But other than that, I thought it was great. Saw my girlfriend, Elvira, again. Elvira's Big Top is the name of her show.
Yeah.
How old is she, do you know? She's in her late 60s now.
There's no way.
She's gorgeous.
She looks too good.
She must bathe in the souls of, I don't know, something, because she looks fantastic. And she's hilarious, too. She's been on a great show.
And no play on words with Elvira's Big Top.
No, not at all. Completely on the level, totally kid-friendly. Bring your family. Just kidding. Don't do it. A lot of inappropriate jokes.
So you bring up a really good point. Not Scary sounds like it's incredibly impressive, but it's nothing like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party,
No.
right?
You bring your kids to Not So Scary Halloween Party. If the monsters at Not Scary Farm see you having a difficult time with being scared or showing fright, then they will go out of their way to make sure they harass you even more. I saw one girl like huddled in a corner, almost crying, trying to get away from them because she was so scared, and they were just relentlessly surrounding her and like, taunting her and making loud noises. To me, that's hilarious. To her, probably traumatizing.
You've helped me make up my mind. I think I'm ready to say no.
Oh, now you're ready to say no. One of these days we'll get you to go. When we go with the big group, I have to hold the glowing sword of destiny at the end of the group, and they usually come towards me because obviously light attracts monsters. Everybody knows that.
Yes, of course.
So you'll be okay. But I love Not Scary Farm. I think it's great. I actually bought a season pass for the Scary Farm for the rest of the season. That's how much I love it.
Is it only weekends?
It's Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. That's I forget the actual dates, but it's like till the last weekend or the first weekend of November is their last dates. Totally worth it. It was like $65 for me. So I definitely recommend it if you're in the Southern California area. Queen Mary I had never been to before, and I was pretty impressed with what they put together. They had, granted, all the mazes were new to me, but they had 2 new mazes this year, and they were Soulmate and B340.
Now, before we get further, this is the Queen Mary, the boat that Disney used to own.
The actual historic Queen Mary, which is in the harbor, and it's there forever. It cannot move unless you're Lucille Bluth. And the outside, it's like a carnival atmosphere on the outside, and then they have 3 mazes outside and 3 mazes that actually take you into the ship. So they use the ship in 3 of their mazes, and the 3 mazes that are on the ship are actually based around actual ghost legends about the ship. So the Queen Mary is basically, Queen Mary Dog Harbor is the only haunt that is actually located at a legitimately haunted location, which makes it a little more creepy.
Sure.
But it was super awesome. Soulmate was new. It was based on the Legend of Graceful Gale. B340 was based on Samuel the Savage, who was a guy who kind of went crazy, and he hurt some people, and they locked him in the room. And when they opened it later, they found he was kind of like mauled. And then there was one, Submerge, which was based on the Legend of Scary Mary, who was a little girl who drowned in one of the pools. Those three were on the ship, and they were great. You're gonna notice a theme here, but my favorite maze of the evening there was called Voodoo Village. Now, I don't know what it is about voodoo this year, but it's
that voodoo that you do.
The voodoo that hoodoo?
What? You do?
I don't know, I'm confused. But the voodoo maze was fantastic. It was long, like I think it was like 10 minutes to walk through the whole thing, but it was a lot of fun. You probably would have cried, 3 seconds in. I got beads at one point during it, my second walkthrough of it, which was cool because obviously I was in New Orleans and they give out beads there.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. So basically, those are the more, I don't want to say family-friendly haunts because they're not family-friendly, obviously, but they're the normal haunts that people should go to. Later on, probably closer to the end of the season, we'll record a 0.5 episode about some of the more extreme haunts that I'm going to, such as Blackout and Alone, and I guess Delusion is family-friendly because that was my favorite haunt from last year, but we'll talk about that also then. But man, George, you really got to come out and check out some of these sometime.
Well, do they let you run really quickly through the haunts?
If you want to, you can, but it's usually dark in there, and you can trip and hurt yourself, or other people, or the monsters.
Flailing your arms, running, screaming.
Actually, brings up a good point. In one of the mazes at Queen Mary Dark Harbor was called Circus, and there was a bunch of hallways leading places, and I was navigating through them, and it was really dark in there, so I couldn't see that well, and the clown said, "Hey, this is the way out. Just squint your eyes so you can see and walk down this hallway." So obviously I thought he was telling the truth, so I squinted my eyes thinking maybe that would help me see better in the dark. It didn't. He was actually leading me kind of like a Looney Tune cartoon. I walked directly into a wall that was painted to look like a hallway, and I wailed my face on the wood, and the clown dude was cracking up.
That's awesome.
It hurt, but it was hilarious, and I totally deserved it.
See, maybe I could work in a haunt.
You could work in a haunt if you like to scare people.
Jeff, I'm pregnant.
What? Our first Communa baby?
Okay, that's got to be the scariest thing. Anyway, that really went in a strange direction.
It did. It ended really weirdly. We should probably end this one now then.
Any worse, yeah. Give us a call on the Communicore Weekly Hotline. Talk to us about your favorite haunt. What you love about haunt season. What scares you. What is your favorite haunt? Call us at 424-785-4628. That's 424-785-GOAT.
He's a nerd, he's a geek, but we all like to hear him speak. So listen up to the words from his speech. It's George's Book of the Week.
Okay, this week's book is Marc Davis, Walt Disney's Renaissance Man. So Disney's been releasing, like one flagship title a year through its publishing imprints. Last year we had the Great Tinkerbell book. The year before that we've had some other good ones, but this year we've had a few in 2014. The Little Golden books that Charles Solomon did, the Mary Blair reprint and update, and Charles Solomon also did a great look at Sleeping Beauty as well. Where Disney's often sidestepped with their books has usually been around one of its artists. For some reason, they don't really focus on the artists that they've cultivated or grown within their company. And with the cancellation of Ahmed Amidi's Ward Kimball biography, of course, due to Disney editorial control, I wondered, how would Disney present a work on one of their most recognized and admired animators and Imagineers?
So it's kind of an interesting answer for that one. Instead of just releasing a straightforward biography of Marc Davis, we actually have a book that's broken down into different aspects of Marc's artwork. And before each chapter filled with this artwork, there's a story from a friend or a colleague or a student that kind of relates to the art you're about to see in the chapter itself. And it's not the most terribly informative way to see Marc's life as a whole, but it really is a great way to sneak a peek at the man that Marc was to the people that really knew him without really having a I don't want to say a slanted view, but it's great to get a personalized view of Mark from his friends and family.
Yeah, how people saw them. I agree with Jeff. There's not a lot of in-depth biographical information. If you want something really good, try John K. Maker's excellent 9 Old Men. Great short biographical work. But there is so much incredible concept art that you could be overwhelmed with it. I found myself staring, mouth agape at many of the images presented that span Mark's entire career. And even if you only have a passing interest in a specific area of Mark's artwork, like animation or theme parks or life drawings or his teaching, you're going to find yourself drawn into the entire corpus of his work, marveling at his skill. Truly, it seems like there really wasn't anything that Mark couldn't do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The title alone implies it. He was a Renaissance man. And if you've only ever saw Mark's drawings for Disney films and attractions, then you're really in for this gigantic treat, because the man had so many styles, and they are literally all on display here. There's fine art, there's artistic sketches, there's concept work for Disney. It's a lot of mind-blowing stuff. And it goes from one style to the next really quickly, and it's hard to even tell that they're from the same guy in some instances. I was kind of super blown away. And I say this a lot about some of the art books we review, but I found myself wanting to take the pages out again and just hang them on my wall.
Exactly, and that's why we need to buy multiple copies.
Exactly.
Yeah. So his style is so masterful. That's sort of what Jeff talked about. Even his sketches are really amazing pieces of art. Each section does begin with an essay from someone within the Disney organization that discusses how amazing and influential Mark was. The section on Imagineering, written by, of course, Marty Sklar, makes sense. Of course, they didn't ask either one of us to write it. It's okay. That's okay. But the drawings and the sketches and the paintings represent the gamut of theme park attraction design. And it shows how much Mark understood about people and gags and what they would enjoy. There were several pieces that I'd never seen before. A few from the World of Motion and the Carousel of Progress. But I thought it was kind of odd that there was no art from the Country Bear Jamboree, and they covered the Western River Expedition, which sort of made me feel like, Western River Expedition's kind of cool and hip and trendy, and the Country Bear Jamboree is kind of old school.
That makes sense. But a lot of the new art, though, which was previously unseen, is a really great addition. And even some of the artwork that came from Alice Davis's personal collection completely blew my mind. But I guess, excluding some attractions was necessary, because there's literally thousands of pieces that they could have chose from to put inside this book. But overall, the book is a fantastic look at all of Mark's work and his range. And it's a little more than your usual art books that come from Disney due to the inclusion of the stories from friends and colleagues. And to me, that makes it even more invaluable to your collection.
Exactly. I think this is a book we both wholeheartedly recommend. And I've said this before about certain books from Disney. You need to buy it when it comes out, because you're going to see the price of this skyrocket probably to $150 to $200 once it's out of print and you cannot find it anywhere.
Absolutely.
So if you love Marc Davis, love his work, you definitely need to pick this one up. We both enjoyed it. It is Marc Davis, Walt Disney's Renaissance Man.
What we liked, what we didn't like, gays in the booze. 60-second review.
Okay, we've got 2 Blu-rays to discuss this week that
How
Disney
many?
released. 2.
What?
2 Blu-ray. First one up is Sleeping Beauty, which is probably the one that everyone's going to buy, and everyone needs to buy it unless maybe you own the edition that was released in 2008.
Yes.
Which was before I owned a Blu-ray player, so I didn't get that one. I just have the DVD release from there. So saying that, this was my very first chance to view this film in high definition, and wow.
That's pretty much all you need to say.
Yeah.
What can we say about the film itself that hasn't been said before? It's a gorgeous, wonderful film, but you're buying this to view it in high definition, and again, wow, it's gorgeous in high definition. It's fantastic.
It does look really, really good. It's gorgeous. It's hard to really tell. It's over 50 years old.
Yeah.
And my boys were like, I don't want to watch this. It's about Princess. But, I forced them, told them they'd be grounded for at least a month. parenting tip from Communicore Weekly, and they were almost hooked from the beginning. You know, it looks gorgeous. I thought it sounded really well, and it wasn't until we got into some of the extras that I found out that they found, what was it? They found the original master recordings, which was pretty much unheard of.
Yes, which is bizarre. And who was involved in remixing it? I know you said it before.
Randy Thornton, who's done a lot of stuff for Disney, and Tony Baxter.
Yeah, that man does everything.
The mustache.
The sound mixing mustache.
He was part of it as well. I can just see his mustache at the control panel, you know, moving the... Anyway.
The little sliders.
Yeah, I digress. But, you know, they found the original masters for everything, the vocals, the music, the orchestrations, and they were able to work at it and got an Academy Award-winning, you know, sound designer to redo it, and it does sound gorgeous. It does sound good. It was kind of weird. I thought the vocals in some areas were kind of funny, but that may have been my sound system.
It may have been.
Well.
I mean, this actually, the actual soundtrack is the same as the 2008 Blu-ray release, so they didn't do anything to update it since then, but it's still, I mean, I didn't hear any sound hiccups. I thought it sounded great on my end. It may just been something yours. Maybe I wasn't paying attention enough to hear it. I don't know. But let's talk about the extras a little bit. What do you think about those?
There wasn't anything, unfortunately, earth-shattering. There were 2 new deleted scenes that were, you know, it's sort of like they're scraping the bottom of the barrel now for deleted scenes, you know. But there was a really good documentary about Disney villains, but it was weird. They interviewed Andrea Deha a lot, which he's fantastic. He's a great animator. But they also interviewed the producer, the director of Frozen, and slapped him in the middle of the documentary. And I was scratching my head going, what?
Synergy,
that's what it was. Because the villain in Frozen, in case you haven't seen it, there's a twist.
Ooh, yes.
There's a twist to it.
There is a twist.
But it kind of made it weird. But I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed the bonus feature about the Festival of Fantasy parade.
Yeah, I haven't seen the parade yet, but it made me want to see it even more.
Yeah, it was that little, you know, they picked a Disney star, but nobody in my family knew who it was, so obviously, you know, who knows. But it felt a little heavy-handed, and it was almost cute and charming and clumsy for Disney to do, and there were a lot of inside jokes that they made about New Fantasyland. So that was funny, but not worth purchasing the DVD. But the classics, the classic Blu-ray edition, from 2008 were actually really, really good, because there was one about the sound, and there was one about how amazing a film it was. And that's one of the things that really got me, was watching it. Hadn't seen it in a few years. I was like, wow, the film is really beautiful.
Yeah.
And they went back and forth during the documentary, showing Snow White, Cinderella, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, and then they go to Sleeping Beauty, and I was like, oh, Sleeping Beauty is gorgeous.
It's absolutely breathtaking, especially in high definition. But to see that transition was kind of, I don't want to say jarring, that's not the right word because that sounds
but
bad.
in a good way. It was jarring in a good way.
It was
like, wow.
a step up in quality. That's for sure.
And they interviewed several animation historians like Michael Barrier and Charles Solomon, and they all said, you know, this was the very last of the incredibly lavish Disney animated films. Yeah. And we'll never see anything like it again. And even if you own it on DVD, it is worth it to buy it.
So if you own the 2008 Blu-ray release, I mean, it's kind of debatable if you need to, you know, buy this new one. But if you don't own it on Blu-ray already, definitely pick this one up. I mean, totally worth it without a doubt.
I think it is.
And to move on to changing gears completely to our not area of expertise, we also just had to watch $1 Million Arm. And it's a sports movie, guys.
It's a sports movie. And you know, when it was released theatrically, I didn't really have an interest in seeing it. Just didn't seem like it was going to be my cup of tea. But, you know, got review copies. I said, sure. My kids said no. But, you know, I was willing to sit down and watch it.
Yeah,
and
because we like you guys. We can do that for you.
I mean, I was surprised. I was surprised by the film.
I was too.
Really surprised.
I mean, let's take a step back for a second. Disney knows how to work their sports film formula. They do it really well. It's obviously, I mean, done well here again. I'm not the biggest fan of all their sports movies. Remember the Titans was great. I really enjoyed that one. Mm-hmm. But this was rather formulaic. I don't know, whatever one of those. But it was still surprising, and it was still kind of sweet and charming, and I enjoyed it. Not enjoyed it like enough to go to the theater and see it, but I did enjoy it in the comfort of my own home. Not something I'll watch again anytime soon, but
yeah.
it was good.
The appeal to me was that it was sort of like a fish out of water story, and those can always be fun. It was more than just having potential baseball players from India, but John Hamm's experience with Indian culture. We in the movie we meet a sports agent who's not quite feeling like Jerry Maguire just yet, and he needs to book some solid sport type people, like for his agency. I don't know what that. Whatever.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, but he's got to keep his business going. And his partner, who was the bad guy from Avatar.
What?
We know
how many of you guys have seen Avatar.
Yeah, no, not the blue-skinned alien. The
other bad guy.
Avatar, the film with the karate. And,
Avatar.
The one that was on
I'm so
Nickelodeon.
confused right now.
I know, I'm sorry. But anyways, his partner, John Hamm's partner, talks about the almost 2 billion fans of cricket that are in India, and Hamm sees a golden opportunity.
Yeah. It's a very odd sequel to Mad Men, if you will. I didn't really see that direction. I'm just kidding. It's not a sequel to Mad Men, guys. So
there was just drinking in it, though.
There was drinking in it, so I guess that kind of counts. To kind of wrap it up, that disc had a couple of extras. There was a making of featurette. There was an alternate ending where John Hamm kills Dumbledore. A bunch of deleted scenes, some outtakes, and a look at the musical score. There was good stuff. Ditto, the alternative ending was just okay. The outtakes were really funny, I thought. And the making of featurette about the making of the film was really cool because I'm into that. I actually enjoy that a little more than the movie.
Like you said, it's well done. Disney knows how to make a sports film.
We like sports.
With heart. I had a lot of trouble discerning what was a touchdown, what was a free throw. I was just like, hey, bring me some Cracker Jack. That's
Patrick?
all I really know.
No, that's hockey, guys. I know what hockey is. I love hockey.
I think said Patrick. So anyway,
Sleeping Beauty, a most definite buy. $1 Million Arm. If you're into the sports movies, by all means, I think you should check that one out as well. George, what are your thoughts?
I agree. Get Sleeping Beauty and check out Rent. $1 Million Arm at least.
Yes.
Give it a look.
Sometimes you might see it, sometimes you don't. Hey, look, what's that? It's a 5-legged goat.
I don't care what anybody says, my resort of choice when visiting Walt Disney World is Pop Century. Why? Because I am a sucker for pop culture, and it's cheap. So sue me. I don't want to spend a lot of money. I want to spend it in the parks, and not where I'm sleeping at night. So those $100 don't really have a high conversion rate, clearly, because I like staying there. So each section of the resort is themed to a different time period in case you've never been there before. My personal favorite is the 50-second section, which has a bowling theme. Now there are 3 buildings there, each with 3 wings, and at the end of each wing is a staircase, so you can get to the upper floors, of course. Now each staircase is inside a King Brunswick bowling pin. Now if you do the math and you carry the 3 buildings, 3 wings, and that equals 9 gigantic bowling pins. But wait, isn't there 10 pins in bowling?
There
Surprise.
are.
Well, yes there is. Did they forget the 10th pin? No, they didn't. So if you want to find the 10th pin, you actually climb to the top of one of the stairwells that are overlooking the pool and then look down, and you'll find that the pool itself is in the shape of a bowling pin, making it the hidden 10th pin. They're very clever, those guys.
Those Imagineers are so smart to design that. So yeah, I agree with you. Hey, sometimes it's nice to visit or, enjoy one of the more expensive. No, one of the deluxe resorts.
Deluxe resorts,
yes. We don't say expensive.
Nope.
But pretty much, stay at Pop Century.
You're only using it to sleep at night. It's fine.
That's why you're doing and shower, go to the bathroom.
Well, that stuff too, but you don't have to pay for all that other stuff. Whatever, it's fine.
No, that's true. So, okay, well, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening to another episode of Communicore Weekly.
Yes, please leave us a comment and give us a rating on iTunes.
Yeah. We should go for 10.
10 stars, like 10 pins.
You know it. Yeah, I'm trying anyway. You can always email us at communicoreweekly@gmail.com.
And of course, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/communicoreweekly.
Follow us both on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Imaginerding, and he's at Jeff Heimbuck.
And of course, give us a call at the Communicore Weekly Goat Line at 424-785-4628.
And grab your copy of the musical today. Find out how Jeff and George saved the world at Amazon, CD Baby, iTunes. Listen for free on Spotify and Google Play.
And of course, visit the Communicore Weekly Communistore. Go to communicoreweekly.com, click on the store, check out our shirts. We got some cool stuff there.
And for Jeff Heinbuck, I'm George Taylor.
And for George Taylor, I'm Jeff Heinbuck. Thanks so much for listening, guys and gals. We'll see you next time on Communicore Weekly, the greatest online show.
Balls in your court.